Thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk. I am Janae Hancock. Today we are finishing or continuing our KC development segment, our weekly segment here on the live desk. And as you all may know, there's a lot of conversation right now. It's been a hot topic whether or not the Chiefs and the Royals will be staying in the state of Missouri. So again, I want to take a look at this file video that we do have here. The new news today is that the Greater Kansas City Building and Construction Trades Council, which represents nearly 20 area construction unions in the region, they sent a letter to the Jackson County legislature demanding that legislators and the county executive, Frank White Jr., work together to keep the Kansas City Royals and the Chiefs in the state of Missouri. So with all of that being said, I do want to bring in our guest for today, our weekly guest. You're taking a look at Kevin Collison with City Scene KC. And Kevin, like I said, this has been a hot topic and it's been going on for months now since the Royals. That news was announced last year. But how will this impact the state of Missouri if both teams leave the state?
Well, Janae, you're right. I mean, it was almost a year ago now that the Royals first started having their so-called information hearings about their hopes for a downtown ballpark. So yes, it's been going on quite a while. Obviously there's a lot of prestige perceived in having the two pro teams out at Truman Sports Complex in Missouri. And, whether that really means much to the fans, I don't know, because obviously, people are from all over the metro go to the games. And anyway, so right now we're in a situation where negotiations really only started getting serious from all we know until September, even though the Royals claim that they made their first inquiry to the county back in June. And the common theme has been that Frank White, the county executive, has been a bit reluctant to embrace these negotiations. Now, Mr. White has not really responded much to any media inquiries, other than, generic statements saying he's looking out for the interests of the taxpayers. But in the meantime, people are starting to get impatient. The mayor about a month ago said that his impression was that the negotiations with the county were not being done in good faith. And now we have county legislator Manny Abarca, who has been quite vocal over the past couple of weeks about his concerns that if the county doesn't start to get this thing going, and what both teams are asking is for the county to extend its 3/8 cent sales tax. Manny's concern and others is that, they, meaning particularly the Chiefs, would be inclined to start looking at a Kansas site. And a lot of people believe that would be somewhere out where the Kansas Speedway and the Sporting KC Stadium is in Village West and Western Wyandotte County. And of course, the big picture over all this stuff is even if the county successfully puts this 3/8 cent sales tax extension on the ballot in April, this deal, and again, particularly with the Chiefs, in which we don't really know about what exactly the Chiefs want, is going to involve some heavy support from either the state of Missouri or the state of Kansas if they go to that side. Manny seems to think that we're talking in the several hundreds of millions of dollars would be needed from Jeff City or from Kansas. And according to him and others, the state would certainly not even begin to think about kicking in that kind of money, if the Jackson County did not approve that 3/8 cent sales tax. So these are all starting to be very dependent on one another. And so that's why now you've got the labor unions putting out that statement that you just mentioned. We're talking about, union jobs if it's in Missouri, not so much in Kansas. Missouri has, and Kansas City has, and Jackson County, I should say, have what they call prevailing wage requirements, which in other words is basically union scale wage requirements. Kansas doesn't have that regulation. And what's kind of funny, the building and construction trades folks call themselves the Greater Kansas City Building and Construction Trades, which you would think would include the interests of projects on the Kansas side of the border. But clearly they want to make sure this deal gets done paying union wages.
And again, I want to take a look at some other file video that we also have here at the live desk, taking a look at that now. But like you mentioned, if this sales tax isn't put on the April 2024 ballot, the Royals and Chiefs could be moving to the state of Kansas. And we're seeing a lot of reaction to that on social media. Like you mentioned, the mayor also chimed in as well if the teams do move over to Kansas. But I also want to ask you, what are your overall thoughts? You read the letter as well, and it was very demanding. But what do you think?
Well, this is kind of an interesting situation because I used to work at the Kansas City Star, and back in the early 2000s, this whole topic came up. And you'll laugh at this, but I was still relatively new to Kansas City. So I had a development column in which I said, hey, if we really want to have a true bi-state solution to keeping our major pro sports teams, which would involve support from the entire metro, a metro-wide sales tax or something similar, just allow the Chiefs to move out to Western Wyandotte County and build a ballpark for the Royals downtown. I definitely found out quickly that there's a lot of hostility still lingering in this area between folks from Missouri and Kansas, and got roundly criticized. But, in a much more fair and, progressive world, it's still not a bad idea. One of the things that's really kind of sad about the whole situation right now is Jackson County is probably one of the poorest counties in the metro, and yet the most wealthy county in the metro, Johnson County, is not even being asked to kick in for this. While I would be willing to bet the majority of season ticket holders for both the Royals and the Chiefs probably live in Johnson County. So it's an interesting situation that's kind of laying out some of the divisions that are in our metro. And there are a lot of folks in Jackson County and in Missouri who really believe these teams belong to them, even though their fan base extends across both states. And that kind of pressure is coming to bear right now on County Hall.
I think you touched on a good point there, the fact that fan bases kind of extend into both states. But again, there's a lot of fear that both teams will be moving to Kansas. And like you mentioned, there will be a meeting next Tuesday, I believe, where the community can come out and they can share their thoughts. But they're not going to be talking about everything that's happening behind closed doors. I do want to let our viewers know that coming up at 3:30 during our newscast, we will be hearing from one of the council members that actually wrote that letter to the Jackson County legislature. So be sure to tune in to that to hear from him. But Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk. And before I let you go, is there anything else that you would like to say on this topic?
Well, one interesting thing is, there is an outside possibility if we, as a metro area or Jackson County, however you look at it, don't get something done, particularly with the Royals. There are other cities that would love to have a Major League Baseball team. I really don't think that the Chiefs are going to go anywhere. I think people are going to absolutely do whatever it takes. But, there is a small chance that we might lose one of the franchises, not just to Kansas or Missouri, but to Tennessee or Texas. So we'll see.
And you actually bring up a good point there also. I want to touch on one line before I let you go, coming in from this letter. Yeah, he says here, the council member that we will be hearing from at around 3:30, he says this letter is just voicing concern. We've got until January 23rd to be able to get this on the April ballot. And he goes on to say that if this fails, then we will potentially be losing both franchises, and that is not acceptable. So again, he is just voicing his concern, but there's a lot of frustration as far as the situation goes. So Kevin, I appreciate you adding your voice to the conversation, and we will hear from you again next Wednesday to discuss more Kansas City development. So thank you again, Kevin.
Thank you, Janae. Take care.
Have a wonderful day.